All right, so we're going to do a concept in algebra that you didn't get last year because the year ended abruptly, but called factoring. It's something that you're going to need in Algebra 2 in a couple of different spots. So there's like steps to follow that I kind of, it's the way that I break it down, but first step is anything in common, and I'll talk about what that means. Then we're going to figure out the signs, and that's like in our answer, and then determine what type of factoring you have. And there's 4 different types of factoring. Okay, so I'm going to start with like the second step. So basically what like factoring is, actually I'm going to go back even farther. Like if I was going to factor, like what are the factors of 20? I could say 10 times 2, 5 times 4, because those multiply together to equal 20. 20 times 1 technically, but if you do 20 times 1, it really doesn't change anything. So what we're going to be looking at, like you should have done problems like this last year where we FOIL, so where we like multiply x times x is x squared, and x times negative 6 is negative 6x, and then positive 4x, and then 4 times that's negative 24. And we combine these two things in the middle, negative 6x, positive 4x would be negative 2x minus 24. So this over here is a much more complicated version of saying 10 times 2 is 20. X plus 4 times x minus 6 is x squared minus 2x minus 24. So what we're going to be doing is figuring out, like this would be the problem, and this would be the answer. Okay, so, you know, once you get used to it a little bit, it's not like too terrible. 3 out of the 4 types of factoring are actually pretty easy once you get the hang of it, but the 4th type is definitely a little more challenging. So you're going to have, you know, a problem like this. And so I said, is there anything in common? I'll come back to that. Figure out the signs. So, you know, I'm going to have, I'm going to go on another screen and do this. I'm talking about like this. Okay, if you distribute everything back out. So if you notice, like on this one, this negative 24, here's my positive 4 and negative 6. When I multiply those two together, I get the negative 24. And when I combine them by adding or subtracting, I get that middle number. Okay? So a problem like this, like your answer is going to have 2 sets of parentheses. And are the signs going to be both positive? Are they going to be both negative? Are they going to be one positive and one negative? Okay, so this last number tells you about the signs. Okay, so if it's a positive, then the signs are the same. Well, the signs are the same, could be plus plus or minus minus. So how do you tell which one to use? You look at the other sign. So in this case, if this was the problem in my answer, I would have both signs positive. if the problem was like that, the 10 tells me the signs are the same. I look at the other sign, this one would be minus and minus. Okay? And so if I had one like this, okay, the last one is negative, so different signs. Okay, no matter what the other number is. Okay, so for both of these, you're going to have a positive and a negative, a positive and a negative, because the last one is a negative. Okay, so that's like the way that I write my parentheses out first, and then I put the signs in, and then I can continue the problem. Okay, so write back out problems today that we factor, like the first type of factoring, and I'll do like the problem that I just wrote up. You're not going to have a number in the front of the x squared. It makes things a lot easier when that happens. So what you're going to look at is figure out the signs. They're both positive. We just talked about that. And then how do I get x squared? Well, x times x. So you're always going to have x's in that first spot. Okay? And then in the second spot, you're going to have factors of 10. So 10 times 1 or 5 times 2. Okay, and so then which one of those makes 7? 5 and 2. 5 plus 2 is 7. Okay, and so we're going to say plus also because of the plus sign right there. Okay, and so it technically doesn't matter if I put 5 in the first spot and 2 in the second spot, or 2 in the first spot and 5 in the second spot. But I'm going to, like on all your problems, and it says this on your assignment in Canvas, put the smallest number in the first parentheses. Because if you technically x plus 2 and then x plus 5, it's the same as x plus 5 and x plus 2. There's no difference. But in Canvas, the way it grades it, it'll grade it wrong if you put x plus 5 and then x plus 2, because I put the answer in like this. So always put for the purposes of your assignments, put the smallest number in the first parentheses. Okay? And so we did like this problem. I wrote that problem rather in the last one. So what are the signs? The last term is positive, means the signs are the same. Use the other sign, x and x, to make our x squared. And so this one is kind of the same thing, well, what times what is 10? And what makes 7? 5 and 2 make 7. Yeah, it's a negative 7, but when I plug them in over here, I'm going to have, and so watch this, the smallest number. Negative 5 is smaller than negative 2. Because technically I need negative 5 and negative 2 to make a negative 7. Okay, so smallest number first. Otherwise it's going to mark it wrong. Okay, so one of the other ones that I put in the last one was like this. So again, what are the signs? The last term's negative. Oh, that means I have a positive and a negative. Put the negative one first, because that'll be the smallest number. So again, it's 10 times 1 and 5 times 2 to make 10. What makes a 3? Well, if I do 5 minus 2, I can get a 3. Here's the difference on these ones, though. If you kind of go back to the ones above, -5 and -2 make my positive 10. And +2 and +5 make my positive 10. So the numbers that go in those spaces at the end give you the last number when you multiply it back out. So I need the 5 and the 2 to make a -10. Well, do I have -5 and +2, or do I have +5 and -2? Because both of those give me a -10. So really I have to look at like which one of these gives me a +3. Okay, and it would be this one. So the 2 has to be negative, so I put that there, and the 5 has to be positive. Okay, and so if I changed the +3 to a -3, I still have, x minus and x plus to make -10. But now I want to look at -5 and +2 to make -3. So the -5, +2. Okay, and so if you were to multiply this stuff back out, you will get the trinomial on the left side. Okay, so when I say, all right, so you'll have some, like these where the last one's positive and the middle one's positive, the last one's positive, the middle one's negative. You'll have a mix. Let's kind of combine a couple things here. So if we had oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay, so if you go back to the beginning, I said, is there anything in common? And basically what you want to look at is there a number that I can divide on all of these? And there is. I can divide all of them by 2. So I'm going to what's called factor that out. Just means I'm going to take out a 2 and then I got to divide it back. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. 14 divided by 2 is 7. 24 divided by 2 is 12. Okay, and then I'm going to factor what's inside the parentheses. So the last term's positive. That means the signs are the same. Use the other sign. Put my x in there. And then I need to look at factors of 12. 12 times 1, 6 times 2, 4 times 3. Okay, which one makes a 7, the 4, and the 3? Put the smallest number in the first parentheses. Okay, and so if you look at it again, like that last one I kind of circled, the 3 and the 4 make the 12, and the 3 and the 4 make the 7. Okay. So if we had one like this, there's nothing in common because there's no number in the front. What are the signs? The last term's negative, so that means I'm going to have a negative and a positive. Put my x's in. So 20. 20 times 1, 10 times 2, 5 times 4. So which one of those can you make a 1, which is in the middle there, the 5 and the 4? But I have a negative and a positive. So is it -5 and +4, or is it +5 and -4? Which one of those makes a +1? The last one does. So the 4's got to go where the negative sign is, and the 5 where the positive sign is. Okay, so you're going to have, some problems, like it's a mix of problems. Some of them you're going to have to take a number out, like this first example, but that should be like 3 or 4 out of the 15 that you're going to do today. It's not going to be like every problem, but you'll have some of them where the last sign's negative of the different problems to like look at. Okay, just again, follow the directions that are on like Canvas, because you're going to have to type in your answers into Canvas, and it's going to grade it on its own. Don't leave any spaces in between anything. So when you type in the parentheses, don't space and then hit X, just it's parentheses, like for this last example, parentheses X minus 4, parentheses, X plus 5, parentheses, no spaces. Okay, and put the the smallest number in the parentheses on the left. Okay, at the end of the assignment, it's going to tell you how many you got right and how many you got wrong. You can go back and redo it. If you got 14 out of 15, you can go back and try to fix like the one. You can do the assignment as many times as you need. I put that it's unlimited. So, if you miss some, go back and try them again. It might just be you forgot to put the smallest number to the left, or you accidentally put a space in. So just, pay attention to those things. But you'll have to do the whole assignment over again. So definitely, I would write stuff down, for the answers. That way, if you go back and you got something right, you can just kind of copy it down again. Okay? All right, so there's our first day of factoring. Have a good day, guys. We'll see you tomorrow.